What's up? What's cracking? It's your man Mike Deezee, and welcome to Video Network from the Vault, one of the staple shows I've had in mind to do for a long time. This show is where the best and possibly the most questionable in urban literature are given center stage, as you, the viewer, will be treated to a variety of novels by various street fiction writers. Oh, I should mention that because I look at books as films for my viewing pleasure, I'm going to be speaking as though books are films. So when you hear me referring to when you hear me using certain phrases like this feature or using a video category for a book title, that's again because I'm looking at them as though the book is a film. Just thought you Just thought I'd let you know that before we start. This week's features title are this week's feature titles are, excuse me. And They Call Me God Book 1, Breaking All the Rules Book 1, Just Say You Want Out, which is part of a series, Love in a Carry-On Bag Part 1, Secret Places Part 1, and Dirty Divorce Part 1. Notice the theme of ones here. Anyway, we begin with this. This being And They Call Me God Part 1, obviously by T. Styles. This story comes as a full book. There's the 3 parts of the story, but we're only dealing with part 1 here. In this first section of the story, we meet Devante, who is known to his crew as God. I'll let you get the book to find out why. In the opening half of this hood drama, we watch Devante grow up with a dysfunctional mother, a half-assed aunt, and an extremely uncaring father. Devante goes from living in a halfway house to a boys' home to meeting Miss Elizabeth Wu, one of 2 women that shows young Devante what no boy who's entering young adulthood should know until he's mentally ready to understand. And They Call Me God Part 1 is just full of heartache and a lot of pain as we watch young Devante again. He's experiencing way too much at too young of an age. While Part 1 doesn't have a lot of action, there are many silent lessons that Miss Styles touches on that leave you ready to open Part 2, which we'll discuss again, as I said at the top of the show. We'll discuss that next time. So for Part 1, excuse me, wrong title. So for Part 1 of And They Call Me God, I'm going to give Part 1 5 for depth of character. Next up is Breaking All My Rules by Tracy Hicks. This title should be in romance and not fiction, but anyway. Story centers around Erica Stanford, and who runs Opulence, an upscale boutique in the Washington D.C. well-to-do section of the city. Erica gets summoned to jury duty right on the cusp of a major fashion show that is promised to give Opulence, her company, exposure that she's looking for to boost her business. Erica reluctantly goes to jury duty, where she meets her Great Dane in Jerome Kimbrough, a hardworking, everyday man that seems to be struggling to keep a peaceful life, be a better father to his son. The two, being Erica and Jerome, develop a very serious relationship that concerns Erica because she's truly in love with Jerome, but she is fearful that her posh family will not be very accepting of Jerome, his family, or where Jerome comes from. While Jerome and Erica have their dilemmas to deal with, they're on the co-stars of the story are Ashley, Erica's best friend, who's has her own drama with with Ashley's fiance Jason. The story is good. The story is good and reminds me of a series of classic black films where you have the uppity blacks who look down upon the hood blacks, or where the uppities just came from and growing up, and questioning why their posh daughter is so in love, truly in love, with someone who's so down to earth when they have seemed to have forgotten where the hell they came from. For this one, 1 through 5 equals 4. Since it kept my attention, I'll read it again. Next up is Love in a Carry-On Bag, Part 1, from Sadika Johnson, as you saw from the cover. This story stars a different Erica, not the Erica, different Erica. This one is a publicist who can't stand her alcoholic mother, who can't keep herself sober or out of legal problems. Warren is the saxophone-playing love of this Erica's life, whom this particular Erica, the publicist, separate from, anyway. Erica puts Warren, her love interest, through hell throughout this literary film. Because Warren lives in D.C. and Erica lives in New York, she often visits Warren on the weekends, thus the title, Love in a Carry-On Bag. By the time Part 1 is over, I have grown to really hate Erica. That to the point that I can't seem to go to the point that I can't seem to let go of my dislike for her, and I'm wanting to see. I'm with Warren by the end of the story. I'm not with Erica whatsoever. That's because Warren is truly a good guy that gets just shitted on way too much by Erica. Anyway, with that said, 1 through 5 equals 5. I like Warren, but again, Erica gets on my nerves, so I say that Sadika did a very good job being that I cannot stand her main character. And if you didn't get that shot one more time of the book cover, in case you didn't see it the first time, alright. Next up is Secret Places by Leslie Sherrod. Sherrod tells the sad and disturbing story of Charisma and Gideon Joel, or Charisma Joel, a Sunday school teacher and wife of a disgraced former doctor named Gideon, who suffers from a severe depression that has driven a wedge between Charisma and Gideon. Through the course of this first section, or the first part of the story, Charisma does her best not to give into seductive temptations that call to her from both her purse and then also from her job, as she's doing her best to be patient and let Gideon come into his senses on his own. As much as I enjoyed the story, I cannot deny the reality that Charisma got on my last nerves with her patience and her near erotic encounters. But that could just be me and my twisted thinking. And if you didn't know I got twisted thinking, well, now you do. Anyway, 1 to 5, I give this a 4. Probably should have been a 5, but Miss Sherrod really made me hate Charisma. So yeah, if you want, pick this up, check it out. Anyway, next. I shouldn't have said anyway like that, because I am somewhat suggesting with my facial expression that I don't like it when I do like it to a degree, so excuse the eye roll, my bad. Next up is Just Say You Want Out, which tells the story of Mariah, who is referred to Mimi throughout the story, and her interesting yet rocky relationship with Mike, who is known as Green Eyes. I started not to go through with reading the rest of the story after the first 2 chapters because of the ugly way it started. And no, I'm not going to tell you. You'll have to get your own copy to find out. I enjoyed watching Mariah and Mike get to know each other, but at the same time, Mariah had a habit of being childish from time to time to start this what I should have said was Mariah's habits of being childish started to wear on my nerves, especially when she accused Mike of stepping out on his relationship with Mariah to talk to a chick he met at a club that, in reality, Mike had no real feelings for. The main reason why the drama Mariah showed Mike got on my nerves is only because I happen to be a supporter of polygyny. However, I do not agree with how Mike set up the situation that angered Mariah. Anyway, just so you want out, it's fairly good, and I'm looking forward to the sequel. So yes, overall, book is good, and I'd read it again, and clearly I'd recommend it because I'm holding up the book title. 1 out of 5, I'll give it a 5. Not 4, 5. Yeah. Me and my blooper reel, right? Anyway, last title for this segment, for this show, is The Dirty Divorce by Miss KP. I was told by my coworker, Miss Honeydip, to read this when it first came out, and I'm not sure how Honeydip got through this first installment, because by the end of chapter 2, I wasn't sure who I hated more between Lisa, the star of this film, Rich, Lisa's co-star, or Denny, their daughter. Who I do know I liked most was Juan, their son, who he was just my favorite hands down. All I can say is that Miss KP did a very good job in the sense that she really made me hate her lead characters and question how in the hell I was going to get through this 4-book series. But I'm gritting and bearing, and I'm on part 2 as this recording is being done, which will be reviewed in a few weeks. 1 out of 5 for Dirty Divorce Part 1. I'm going to give this a 4. By the way, for all books mentioned here on the show, please go to this place to pick up all of your urban black fiction and all things concerning black people. If you haven't already, make sure to click the little red button on the bottom left, and if you like the show, make sure to click the right thumbs up on the right side of the screen. And remember, keeping it 100 means keeping yourself 100% literate.